Hello, everyone. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Allison.
And this is Nerd of the Week, a randomly generated fandom podcast. Generator, would you like to remind the listeners what we're talking about this week?
The word of the week is pumpkin.
Pumpkin!
Boom, boom, boom. Wait, pumpkins don't make that noise. Well, kind of. You can smack them. I don't know what I'm saying.
I mean, when you like hollow out a pumpkin for Halloween, and then you bop it, it'll make like percussion-ish noises.
Well, it's like when you go and like tap on a watermelon to see if it's ripe. I think pumpkins make that too. They'll like,
wait,
gloom, gloom.
What?
What?
You tap on a watermelon to see if it's ripe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're
What is
supposed
the
to
skill?
like flick watermelons, and if it sounds hollow, I think that's a good sign. Maybe
It's done then. And so I didn't know.
I don't know if it sounds hollow, it's good, or if it sounds hollow, it's bad. So don't quote me on that. I might be leading you completely astray.
What sound should a watermelon make? A deep sound when you thump it with your hand, resembling a tenor, is what Google told me.
Okay.
So I think you're right.
Life tips with Allison and Stephanie to lead you into your upcoming summer fun.
For a pumpkin, to test for a good one, hold the pumpkin with one hand, place your ear next to the pumpkin, and knock it on its side with the knuckles of your other hand. If you hear an echoing, hollow sound, it's a good one.
I've
The
never
louder the
heard
sound,
of pumpkins echoing.
the better the pumpkin. Well, have you ever held your ear to a pumpkin and then knocked on it?
Well, no, but how on earth would it echo?
I have no idea. This is something we're going to have to experiment with.
Oh my goodness.
Listener, have you ever heard of a pumpkin echoing? Please let us know in the comments of all of our various forms of media.
That sounds like some sort of like old saying, like, this sounds like a pumpkin echoing. It's not real. Pumpkins are such whimsical creatures.
They are, indeed.
Anyway, I guess, do we need to give a definition of pumpkin? We've already gone into like what makes a good pumpkin.
I mean, you can guess what Google has to say about pumpkin if you would like.
A large plant. Oh, no. Hold on. A large fruiting body of the squash family, often in an orange color and growing on leafy green vines.
All right. So there's two definitions that it gives. The second one is very close to what you just gave.
Oh, cool.
The plant of the gourd family that produces pumpkins, having tendrils and large lobed leaves, native to warm regions of America.
Okay.
And then the first definition is a large, round, orange-yellow fruit with a thick rind, edible flesh, and many seeds.
Edible flesh.
I think, hot take, all flesh is edible.
Oh, no. I don't know if all flesh is edible. I think, maybe edible versus delicious might be different.
That's right, exactly. I don't know that it tastes good, but edible probably.
Oh, no. This is taking on a horrific turn.
More conversation about flesh than you were prepared for.
It goes with the Halloween vibe that this summertime episode is going for.
Halloween in the summer.
Oh, no. Well, perhaps we should get on with other things, and I should tell you about my thing that I brought today.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, cool. So, I have brought a rendition of the classic tale of Cinderella. And the rendition that I have brought in inspiration from your mini talks of musicals is the musical version by Rodgers and Hammerstein.
Heck yeah, love it.
Yes. Have you seen it?
I have not seen it.
Oh, okay. Well,
I have heard of it, but I don't know that I've actually seen it.
Well, it's memorable to me because it was actually the first musical that I played in the pit orchestra for in high school. So I have a very fond and I think a strong memory of it. I hope.
Yeah, that's fair.
We'll see when I go through this rendition of it if I have a strong memory of it. But I think it's cute. It's really
Okay.
cute. So I like it a lot. And of course, you know, when you're talking about musicals and like fairy tales, they're always like super sparkly and whimsical, and it's just wonderful. So as I said, specifically the musical. So this is not the Disney animated or live action or the new Amazon Cinderella.
There's a new Amazon Cinderella.
I think so. It got really, really bad reviews. So it's not
Then
that
I might
one.
want to watch it. I
Yeah, I
live
think
for
it's
bad
right up
reviewed
your
movies.
alley. Yeah, right up your alley. So we will start on. I'm currently looking at a list of the songs. So I'm gonna try and like go based on the order of the songs and see if that actually matches up with the story.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So first off, of course, we have an overture. So basically, it's the townspeople all kind of moving around on stage, and you know how choruses of musicals go. You know, they have their little choreographies and do things very dramatically to show like this person is the shopkeeper and this person is someone who's buying the bread and this person is the messenger from the king. And so the king or the messenger from the king comes out with his wonderful scroll and he unrolls it and he says, "The prince is giving a ball," because that's what's happening here. So we do have the herald, the king's herald, come in, and he loudly proclaims with a very long scroll, or at least how he did it in my version of the musical.
That's
He had
fair.
this ridiculously long scroll that kind of unrolled onto the stage, and it says,
Oh,
"The
I love
prince-"
visual gags on stage.
Oh gosh, yes, they're so good. I love it when it's just like, here's one little ridiculous thing. So the song is "The Prince is Giving a Ball," and it's basically everyone getting hyped for this ball because you know the prince doesn't have balls all the time, and you know he's the prince. Everyone's speculating like, why is he having a ball? It's going to be wonderful. This is so exciting. We all have to get ready. Perfect. And
Which is like
then-
the opposite of a lot of like movies and things that depict royalty where they have like balls all the time.
right?
I've always thought that was weird.
Yeah, it's like what? Why this one is
This
special?
one doesn't like dancing.
Well, you know, I don't think it's necessarily the prince who wants the ball. I think it's his parents, as we'll soon see.
Right, okay.
And of course, we have to then focus in on our main character, who we've yet to meet, which is Cinderella. So we first meet her house. Not meet her house. You can't meet a house.
You could meet a house. You could say, "Hello, house. My name is Stephanie." The house will not say, "Hello, Stephanie. My name is House."
At
But-
least you hope it won't.
Yeah, if it does, then maybe don't go into that house.
There's a haunted house. So anyway, we first go to Cinderella's house, and there we meet the two ugly stepsisters along with the stepmother. And the ugly stepsisters, they're obviously it's two different roles, but they're basically like the role of the ugly stepsisters, essentially. Because they all have like the same lines, basically, and of course, like the same stuck up silly personality. You know how the stepsisters all you have all heard this story before. It's nothing revolutionary.
Stepsisters are the stepsisters.
Yes. And so basically they're just like not beating on Cinderella. They're just like being mean to her, bullying her. That's the word. They're bullying Cinderella. And the stepmother,
Today is the day
she's-
we get a thesaurus.
But the stepmother, she's like encouraging them almost. Like, yeah, tell her how awful she is. And then they leave to go off and do whatever they're doing, probably shopping for something. And Cinderella then has her first little solo song, which is "In My Own Little Corner," which is simultaneously a very charming song and also a very annoying song. 'Cause
That's fair.
It just kind of goes on and on for a long time. But basically, she sits in this little corner next to the fireplace and has like little daydreams to herself where she tries to take herself out of her bad situation because basically she is the slave to these stepsisters and stepmother. And she says, "But in my own little corner, I can be whatever I want to be." And I think the most riveting part of the song, which is dumb to say because it's really not that exciting, is that she's going on an African safari and she's
Classic
apparently
maladaptive daydreaming.
I know. Apparently, she's a wild game hunter, which that didn't age well.
No.
And just as she's about to try and shoot the lion, apparently she realized she doesn't actually have her gun anyway. So she can't.
Well, that's good.
But don't worry, the lion's not going to kill her because she's just in her own little corner. It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. So she has this little dream while she's cleaning the fireplace hearth, and then kind of commits herself like, but it will never happen. I'll always just be right here. Now, the stepsisters then kind of come back in. They were off stage doing whatever they're doing. They come back into the scene just as the prince is giving a ball comes back because the herald has sent an invitation to them. And so the stepsisters now get to sing The Prince is Giving a Ball, and they're all getting hyped for it too. Really, this is the ball of the century, apparently. And Cinderella's like, oh, well, I sure would love to go there as well. And they are like, ha, no, you can't go to the ball. So that sets up our main drama, of course. Then we're going to switch scenes for a second, still in Act 1. But this is called the Royal Dressing Room Scene.
Oh, all right.
So
Bougie.
we have the Majesties. Or it's Your Majesties. Sorry, that's the name of the song. So it's the king and queen, the chef, and the steward. So basically, the king and queen are planning this whole ball for their son, the prince. So it's really not even his ball. He didn't want it. It's just the Majesties. There's a really silly kind of little bit of dialogue before the song starts, where the queen she's basically like crying. And I think it's something, gosh, it's been a little while, but I think she's really happy that her son is growing up, but also sad that he's going to be leaving the castle, which I don't think is actually going to be happening because I think he will get to inherit the throne, but whatever. So she's just feeling emotions of this time in her son's life where things are changing, basically, like any kind of parent who things change and they get sad about it. And so anyway, she's like dabbing at her nose, and the king, he comes and like, oh, don't do that. You can't have a red nose for the ball.
Oh.
Which, for whatever reason, in high school, I think it was the theater director made a point to tell us you don't want to have a red nose because it implies that you were drinking alcohol. And I kept thinking to myself, maybe she's sick. Why did you have to explain
allergies would beg to differ.
So the queen has been told off to don't wipe your nose so hard. Anyway, then the chef and the steward come in. They're like, what would you like us to have on the menu? And so the king and queen get to sing about what they want on the menu and how wonderful everything's going to be and how perfect and luscious everything will be during the ball. Right. Then, gosh, I feel like there's something else funny that happens here. Oh, wait, I know what it is. I think we actually open in on the dressing room scene with the king, getting dressed, basically.
Okay.
That's why it's the dressing room. But the way the scene opens, if I'm remembering correctly, it's like the door bursts open with the chef and the steward with the king, putting his pants on. He has his boxers on, but he has to pull his pants on afterwards. Oh. And of course, high schoolers thought that was amazing. Oh my gosh, he's almost naked.
The maturity of high schoolers.
Yeah. Yes, that was a great scene. So again, another visual gag on the stage. Now, me down in the pit, I didn't actually get to witness any of this because I was just playing the music, but we definitely heard what was going up there, and we could imagine, I suppose. So anyway, they have a wonderful time planning the party, and they're all happy by the end of it. I guess the queen no longer has a red nose, so we're fine.
So she's no longer drunk. We wore it off. It's good.
She never was to begin with, though. Oh, no. So anyway, then Cinderella sings again. I think we go back to her, and she's mourning the fact that she can't go to the ball, and the stepsisters are getting ready, and they're all in their fancy clothes, and she's trying to help them. But they're like, you're doing it wrong. Stop, tie my hair this way. Just being kind of mean still.
Right.
They're never going to get better. And she's like, are you sure I can't go? And the stepmother's like, no, Cinderella, you must stay here.
Forever. Yep.
So she's sad. And that's where she sings the song Impossible. And it's basically her fairy godmother comes and like she's disguised as an old woman at the gate at first. And Cinderella's like, oh, come, I'll give you an apple and some water and you can sit and rest in the garden. And so the fairy godmother's like, oh, such a sweet girl. You're so kind and you're so pleasant and you're so pretty, because looks are all that matter, of course.
That is the only thing that matters.
Well, I guess she did talk about her positive personality traits of being nice, but whatever. Yeah. It's a musical. We can't have fully developed characters forever.
That's true.
So anyway, this is where Cinderella's just kind of like saying, everything's impossible. I'll never get to go to the ball. And the fairy godmother is like, well, what about that pumpkin over there? Imagine it could be a coach. And Cinderella's like, it's impossible. And the fairy godmother then magically transforms. And gosh, this is one of like those classic theater dresses where it's like they can unsnap a part of it and twirl around, and suddenly it's like this wonderful sparkling gown. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The classic quick change. Yeah.
Yeah. So it looks all fancy, and suddenly she's the fairy godmother that Cinderella has wanted all along. And they sing the most wonderful song. I think one of my favorite songs in the whole musical. Instead of impossible, it's possible. And I swear the song gets stuck in my head frequently. But basically, like, it's possible for a plain yellow pumpkin to become a golden carriage. And they like sing about the mice and the footmen, and like as they're singing it, all these little things are turning into these beings that are going to be transporting Cinderella. And then she gets a quick change too. She gets to be beautiful Cinderella, and then she's off to the ball in the golden pumpkin carriage. And it's wonderful and magical. And then we're in Act 2. So Act 2 is at the ball. And there's a lot of orchestra, like, playing some dancing music and probably some pretty poor choreography going on the stage, if we're honest. And then at the end of this dancing scene, the Cinderella like appears at the top of the stairs, and the prince sees her and like stops whatever he's doing and starts dancing with her, and like the music suddenly changes to be like this romantic waltz, and they're dancing around, and you can tell they're meant for each other, and it's perfect. And then they go out onto the veranda, and they have this song called 10 Minutes Ago, and it says, 10 minutes ago I met you, and the ceiling went down through the floor, or something stupid like that. Like their world was turned upside down. And it's like 10 minutes. Yeah, that's
we did the song, and then immediately, and then this was terrible.
But it's like the worst version of 90 Day Fiancé. It's 10-minute fiancé. But basically, they like commit themselves to like. I think it's just getting to know each other. It's not necessarily like, I will marry you tonight, but
Right.
like, you're meant for me. I know it. And the stepsisters, they see this. And at this point, it's not very clear in the Rodgers and Hammerstein lyrics if they know it's Cinderella or not. I feel like in the Disney cartoon, they literally don't recognize her. But here,
I don't think they do.
which is baffling to me because she's literally like not wearing a mask. I think
Right.
in the live action, I think she does actually wear a mask.
Yeah, I think she's got like a masquerading mask that she
Yeah.
hides behind, and she like makes a conscious effort to not be noticed.
Yeah, I've only actually seen that one once, but yeah. But anyway, I think in the Rodgers and Hammerstein, it's implied that the stepsisters don't really recognize her.
Okay.
But they do see somebody is with their man that they think should be theirs, the prince. Obviously, he's not interested in them because they're ugly. But they have this wonderful little like song of their own called the Stepsisters Lament, and it takes place in like a little powder room, and so they're like sitting in front of a mirror and like powdering their face, trying to make themselves look as presentable as possible, and they're like saying it's not fair that such this like delicate dainty little thing should get to be with the prince. Like, what's so wrong with people like us? And like, yeah, what is there's nothing wrong with people like you. You're right. It's like the only sane song in the whole thing. But at the same time, they are quite mean. So I suppose they're getting what they ask for. So anyway, that's kind of one of the funniest songs.
Okay.
Because they're just like really taking down Cinderella, like really insulting her, but like in the most silly ways. They're like, and who would like the neck of a swan like Cinderella? Let's see what else happens. There's another waltz. They dance more. And then, gosh, this just goes back and forth between dancing and then the prince and Cinderella saying that they love each other. Because there's another song called Do I Love You Because You're Beautiful? Or Are You Beautiful Because I Love You? Which is just so stupid. But I don't know. I think Act 2 is kind of like the dumbest act of all of them, of the three. Because it's basically just the ball and the prince and Cinderella saying, I love you so much. Oh my gosh, we haven't known each other, but I love you so much. So that's kind of how it ends, is they are in love now. And then there's an intermission in most cases. And then we go to Act 3. So let's see. Where are we going? To get back home. Basically, the pumpkin coach, it's not as dire as in the animation where by the stroke of midnight she must return home. There definitely is like a stroke of midnight kind of thing, but it doesn't seem as rushed. It's just kind of like, I'm going to be going now. Oh, look, it's the stroke of midnight. Oh, heavens, I've lost my shoe. Oh, well, I guess I'll just be going now. Like, it doesn't seem as frantic how it's paced out in the musical version, whereas in the animation, it's like, oh my gosh, gotta get moving. Oh my gosh, gotta go. Whoa.
Everything will end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, her pumpkin, it doesn't turn back into a pumpkin too soon in the musical, which is nice. And there's a reprieve. No, not a reprieve. Hold on. We've not heard this song yet. I think my absolute favorite song now comes in, which is called A Lovely Night.
Okay.
And it goes, a lovely night, a lovely night, a finer night you know you'll never see. And it's just so fun. I just love to sing it so much. And then, like, we are kind of going between a few different scenes here because, like, Cinderella and the fairy godmother are going home, and then the stepmother and the stepsisters are going home. And the stepsisters get a turn singing it too. And like they're instructed to sing like really out of tune with each other and like really shrilly. So it's just like this whole difference of like, I fell in love and it was wonderful. And the stepsisters are like, we had a good time and had snacks. It's just really funny.
You know, honestly though, same. As long as I've got snacks and had a good time, I'm a happy camper.
Yeah. I mean, they really have their priorities straight. Really, the stepsisters, even though they're quite mean to Cinderella, they are good characters, I think.
Yeah, they probably are fun to play.
I was just going to say, I've heard a lot of people say they really like playing the stepsisters. Like, they're more caricature kind of things. They can, like, just really be outrageous. So that sounds like fun.
Yeah, for sure.
And so then, of course, they get home. Cinderella has arrived home beforehand, and she's managed to not look like she's been to the ball. But they're all saying, like, oh, Cinderella, it was so wonderful. It's a pity you had to miss it. And don't you know, the prince danced with each of us 10 times. He's probably going to marry one of us. And Cinderella's like, sure, okay. And then they go up to bed. Now, the prince, he has found his shoe. Or not his shoe. My goodness.
Her shoe.
Her shoe. And if I recall, I think it's like a huge time jump, actually, between when he's found the shoe and when they start the search.
Okay.
If I'm remembering correctly, I think it's like a few months. And the king comes up and's like, son, you really need to get off the couch and go find this girl that's beating you up in your mind. Like, go do something. Go find her. I don't think it's an immediate next day kind of thing.
Okay.
I might be completely wrong. I'm sorry if I am.
That's more common in newer stories where the prince is kind of like lamenting it and it's not like an overnight thing. So that would make sense.
This is not a newer story, though. This is from like the 50s. I think it was published in 57.
Oh, then unclear. Maybe they started it and then they're like, this doesn't make sense. We're going to make it like this.
Well, anyway, I don't know. Regardless, there is a search. And so there's music, the search, which is just the orchestra. There's no words. And basically there's just a bunch of different people that are rushing back and forth on the stage. They're like kind of rotating the scenery through. And they're like having people try on the shoe and like shaking their heads really dramatically when it's not the right size. And people are like dramatically trying to put their foot into it. And like it's not working. And sometimes the shoe goes flying across the stage to the other side. And someone like picks it up and tries it on and tries to pretend like it fits, just hilarity ensues kind of thing. Until finally they make it to Cinderella's house. And they're like, well, I have two beautiful daughters here. Of course we can try on the shoe. And it doesn't work. And they're like, please, don't you have anybody else here at the house? You're the last house we've gone to. And Cinderella's like, well, I'm here, I guess. And like knowing it's her shoe, obviously. And the mother's like, no. Couldn't be you. You weren't even there. And she's like, well, maybe I was, maybe I wasn't, but I'd like to try on the shoe all the same. And gosh, again, my memory is kind of fuzzy, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I'm making up my own version of Cinderella as I'm telling you this. But in my mind, I want to say that the prince didn't even need her to try the shoe on. He just kind of like starts singing the "Do I Love You Because You're Beautiful?" And she sings back. But I might be completely wrong. It might be that she just puts her foot in the shoe and it's right. And he's like, my love, do I love you because you're beautiful or whatever. So basically.
Unclear. Okay.
Yeah. It's one or the other, either the cool way or the not so cool way.
We'll go with the cool way. Okay. That's how you remember it. And that's how we can say it happened.
Awesome. So of course they get married and the ugly stepsisters are there as the bridesmaids. Cinderella allowed them to come, which is really nice. And then they kind of close out with everyone waving and saying goodbye and reprising the "Do I Love You Because You're Beautiful," which is really the worst song of the whole show to reprise. I hate it. It's not a good ending, but oh well.
Well, they can't all be perfect.
I guess not. But the other songs, there's a lot of other really good ones in there. And I think you can find clips of them all online, so go look them up.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that is Cinderella and in her pumpkin carriage.
Love it.
Did I do good?
You did great.
Yay! Except I forgot half of it, so that's okay.
I mean, I don't usually remember half the stuff. We just go with it. We never claim to be accurate. We just claim to talk about it.
Should that be our new tagline?
Yeah, for real.
All right. Anyway, I'm sure you have much more interesting things that you have remembered to tell me.
Maybe, maybe not. First, I have a quote for you. Each year, the great pumpkin rises out of the pumpkin patch that he thinks is the most sincere. He's got to pick this one. He's got to. I don't see how a pumpkin patch can be more sincere than this one.
Oh, I know it right away. I'm not going to guess now, though. We'll give our listeners a fair shot to say their own guesses first.
I hope they do, especially a specific generation will know this very well. If you
feel like we're in that specific generation.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pointing us out too. I'm aging us. It's fine. If you do, feel free to comment on all of our social medias. We have a TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I'm usually like an episode behind or so on YouTube, but they're getting up there.
And the drawings are really cute.
Yeah, thanks. And yeah, so you should interact with us on those media platforms. We'd appreciate it.
Interaction. So not only are we not a pyramid scheme, we are also not a cult.
You know, some days.
We don't have enough followers. We're fine.
Right. So, okay, I am bringing The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh my. Okay.
Yeah.
This is so you.
This is
I
so
should have
pumpkin.
called that out already.
It's actually funny because I missed this growing up. Like, I did not see this movie until like 5 or 6 years ago. Like,
Okay.
it was much more recent than people would assume, especially as someone who got married on Halloween. Like, I should have been in love with this movie my whole life, but I did not run into it. And I had a friend growing up who was obsessed with this movie, and I'm pretty sure now has like an entire tattoo sleeve of this movie. But
Yeah, it
just
seems
missed
like
it.
this has like pervaded into a certain culture. Like,
Yeah.
it is a personality almost. I don't want to
Yeah.
call people out who like it. I'm sorry. Please don't be offended by that. It's just like you look at someone, you're like, you like Nightmare Before Christmas, don't
Right.
you?
It's a vibe. Like the Halloween people. We're just a vibe.
Yeah.
I think partially though, the reason that I didn't jump into this movie is because of the stop motion animation.
Oh.
And there were those really like old, they showed all the time on one of, I don't remember what channel, but it was like the Christmas movies, the stop motion Christmas movies.
Rudolph?
Like Rudolph, and then the one with the abominable snowman.
That's Rudolph.
Okay, and then the I'm Mr. White Christmas, I'm Mr. Snow. Is that also Rudolph?
No, that one is, I think that's A Year Without a Santa Claus.
You were not a Santa Claus. Yeah, so
I'm
those two
Mr.
movies.
White Christmas. I'm Mr.
I'm
Snow.
Mr. Snow. I like the music. It hit the uncanny valley for me super hard.
Oh, no.
And so it freaked me out as a kid. I did not like them.
Oh,
I hated
really
that they were
loved those
always.
things.
I were always playing. Yukon Cornelian still kind of gives me sus vibes. I think I had just I didn't like that they were on like around Christmas every year, and I had to like see them on accident, and then like they just creeped me out, right? So then I just think I just associated all stop motion with those two movies, so I just avoided stop motion for a really long time. And then as I got to an adult and I could not be terrified of just things that didn't make sense, I was like, oh, stop motion's actually pretty cool. And then I had mentioned to my husband that I hadn't seen this, and he's like, what? And then we watched it that night. And I love it. It's a good movie.
Now, quick question again to derail the podcast a bit more.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts on Coraline? Have you
Coraline-
seen that? Did you see
have
it
seen
when it
Coraline.
came out?
I did not see it when it came out. I saw it in undergrad. And it's creepy, but it's supposed to be creepy. And I like it.
Okay. Thank you for that. You may now go back to Nightmare Before Christmas.
So it's a 1993 Disney and Touchstone stop motion
It's
animated
Disney?
film. Yeah, it's Disney.
What the hell?
Yeah, Disney's everywhere.
My.
And it was directed by Henry Selick and produced by Tim Burton and Denise Devoni. And apparently there was some drama there where Tim Burton was kind of being Tim Burton and a jerk. And it really was just Henry Selick and Denise Devoni, and Tim Burton just put his name on it. So Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas is like, if you're like deep lore into it, is just like, Tim Burton. But it is what it is.
Oh, no.
But the story opens up with a forest that has a bunch of different trees, and kind of like a meadow type thing, and all the different trees have like a symbol on them that's like very classically associated with holidays. And the one that it zooms into is a pumpkin, and then it opens up, and then we go into the magical town known as Halloween Town. And we get the first song, which is one of the more well-known songs of This Is Halloween. That this is Halloween, this is Halloween. So good. And it's just all the citizens in town, very much like any musical, being like, look at all these people. This is what they do in Halloween Town. And
Here they are.
Here they are. Here's the mayor. He doesn't know how to plan things because he's just a government elected official, which is my favorite line.
Is that actually a line?
It's actually a line in the movie.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
He's like, I can't plan this. I'm a government elected official.
Oh, no.
There's a lot of like low blows in there that just crack me up. But so we go through that, and then we find Jack Skellington, who's our main character, who is the Pumpkin King and the de facto leader of the town, who, not the mayor, but he's like the king of everybody, he's part of the or he's not in the opening, and they're like, everyone's like, where's Jack? And Jack is off being a sad boy, and sings Jack's lament of like, I'm really good at being the Pumpkin King, and I'm really good at scaring people, but I don't know, man, what else is there in life? I want to just find something else, because like, I don't even have to try anymore. And so he's having this like ennui existential crisis of like, what else is there in life? And he is, it's got him climbing up, I think he's in a graveyard, and he's walking up the that like curled little hill, singing about it. But it's like the picture that is like the cover all the time for The Nightmare Before Christmas, with just like Jack singing to the moon on this little like hill. And his dog is a ghost dog named Zero, who jumps around, and they play fetch. He pulls out his own rib, and then he like throws it, and Zero goes and catches it and brings it back to him. And it's just cute. And Zero has a little glowing pumpkin for a nose, and I love him. He's a good boy.
It's cute.
And so they're going on this walk after, because it had just been Halloween. And so then there's only 364 more days left till Halloween. And so they're all getting ready for Halloween next year. And so Jack is kind of going on a walk, and he just kind of walks out of Halloween Town and then like finds the door to this meadow and accidentally finds the door to other holidays. And so he kind of looks at them. I think there's like a four-leaf clover, and a couple others, but the one that catches his eye is the one that's like a big green Christmas tree. And so he opens it, and he falls down a hole that is that drops him into like the snowy, wintry landscape of Christmas Town. And then one of my favorite songs is "What's This?" And it's him just being like in shock that there's other things out there, and there's snow everywhere, and he doesn't know what it is, and there's like candy canes and just all the things you associate with Christmas. And so he is like, this is a beautiful place, and he just wants to learn all about it. So he spends a little bit of time in Christmas Town, just kind of creeping around, being a creep. He is a giant skeleton man, so he just creeps around. And then he like steals a bunch of stuff from Christmas Town and brings it back to Halloween Town. And he shows them like stockings and gingerbread men and all that stuff, and is like, here is Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and like they do like, it's like a whole long celebration. And so why don't we try to have like Christmas in Halloween Town? And the townspeople are like, yeah, that's cool. And they're all really excited about it, but they don't seem to understand. Like, they make like comments about how then like they'll come down the chimney and spook people. And like, so it's very much like they're very Halloween Town minded, but they're trying. And Jack's worried that he may have mildly culturally appropriated Christmas Town.
Oh no.
And he's like,
well, I'm glad he's thoughtful of it.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't know that I explained it right, and he's trying, and so he's doing his best. And then while he's kind of having this montage with the townsfolk, we kind of move towards Sally, who is a Frankenstein-esque character. She is, I think she's actually like a rag doll that got like stitched together by the town's like mad scientist, Dr. Finkelstein.
Oh, I don't like
And
that name or his
he's actually-
profession. I guess.
I mean, he's like the classic, like, Dr. Frankenstein, mad scientist, right? He's this wheelchair bound, like, white as a sheet, has like a bald head that looks like it had been replaced with like steel like hammered into his skull. But I don't know that he's inherently like a villain. He's just, this is what he was, and so he just like brings people to life. And originally he had brought Sally to life because he wanted to be a father, question mark. So Sally is kind of his kid, but he's also like not super great at being a dad because he's just a mad scientist.
Oh.
But you know, it not wholly evil, just antagonistic.
Okay.
Sally is secretly in love with Jack, and she will like follow him around and learn about him.
Creeper.
And not in the like tsundere type way, but just Jack is just this big charismatic character, and Sally doesn't know how to talk to him, but like he's always really nice to her. And she gets into Christmas and like is getting into the talk that Jack is having with everyone, but she gets visions and sees a burning Christmas tree in her vision, and then she's worried that this only can go poorly. So she goes up to Jack and says, "Hey, I have this vision of a burning Christmas tree. I'm like worried that maybe what you're planning isn't going to end well." And Jack's like, you know, we'll figure it out, and it's fine. let's just hang out. So Jack goes back to his lab because, of course, the Pumpkin King has a lab, and he leaves everyone in Halloween Town worried about what he's up to. And Jack starts to do various experiments on the Christmas items that he brought back to try to find a way to explain it better to people. And then he becomes very obsessed. And then there's the song about Jack's obsession, and everyone's like concerned that he's like everyone's like, "Oh, this is a neat thing," back to Halloween Town, and Jack's like not letting it go. And he's like, "There's so many days until Christmas. I need to figure this out before Christmas. Like, not that, you know, holidays don't happen every year, and, you know, it could take a couple of years to figure it out, but we're going to do it this Christmas." And so then he wants to figure out how he can improve upon imitating Christmas and then making it better. So making it a Halloween Christmas. And so then he announces to the town that they're going to go take over the town of Christmas, and they're going to kidnap Santa Claus.
So
And
that went from like, let's be nice and sensitive to you're mine now.
we're a bunch of undead who run Halloween and scare people for fun, and we don't know how to do anything else. So now we're going to go take over Christmas.
Oh my.
So Jack rallies the town and makes them start making Christmas presents, but they're like bombs and traps and things. So they like look like they're really like cutesy presents, but they're not really. Sally knits him a red and white Santa Claus coat. And as they get closer to Christmas, Halloween Town, and we get scenes of Christmas Town preparing for Christmas, Jack puts 3 trick-or-treaters whose names are Lock, Shock, and Barrel, and and they're the ones in charge of kidnapping Santa Claus and from Christmas Town, but warns them not to include Oogie Boogie, their master. So Oogie Boogie is like the main villain of the story, and they like don't get him involved. He always like makes a big deal of everything and makes it really, really difficult, and he doesn't need more power than he has. So Lock, Shock, and Barrel are kind of like they're like kids, and they're not so smart, and they're like, okay, sounds good, and then like immediately bring it back to Oogie Boogie. And then we get to Christmas Eve, where everything's all set up, and Lock, Shock, and Barrel come back with Santa, and then Jack tells Santa that, and Santa's like, he's just been kidnapped. He's like, what the heck is going on? And Jack's like, don't worry, I'm gonna be Santa this time, which is like the most concerning words that anyone could tell Santa Claus, right? And the 3 take Santa back to their lair to keep him there, but or he wants Jack wants them to take him back to his lab, but instead they take him back to Oogie Boogie, who plots to gamble Santa's life and has like one of the best Disney villain songs ever, which is just the Oogie Boogie song, and he's just ridiculous and this over-the-top villain. And so Sally kind of knows this is happening and is trying to stop Jack and being like, no, Santa needs to go be Santa. You're taking this to a crazy degree. Zero has been turned to be the like Rudolph character because his pumpkin nose glows in the dark. So he's like leading the sleigh. And Jack takes off in the world and like starts delivering these awful, terrifying presents, like absolutely nightmarish toys to be dropped off. And just absolute disasters results. And because he's used to scaring people, he's used to screaming. And so he goes, oh, they're screaming? They must be loving this.
No. Wait, so at this point, do they actually think that they're doing a good thing? Or are they like... Okay, so they don't realize that they're basically invading. Okay.
Yeah, Jack thinks he's doing a good thing. Sally's already like, this is not going to end well. And the town is more just used to following Jack and whatever nonsense he wants to do. So I don't know if they think they're doing a good thing. They're just like, if Jack Skellington wants to do it, we'll do it. Sounds good. Let's have fun. And then they get joy and people like freaking out and being scared. So they think they're winning. And then they get back to Halloween Town believing they were good at Christmas. They were not good at Christmas.
They were not good boys and girls. They were not
good boys and girls. Sally has found out that Santa Claus got brought to Oogie Boogie. And as he's like flying back in, she's trying to like wave him down and be like, hey, look out. And Jack gets shot down with artillery cannons on his sleigh. And the police and the people of Halloween Town assume that Jack has died. And Oogie Boogie's main thing is he wants to be the Pumpkin King and he wants to rule the town and stuff like that.
But Jack is way cooler.
Jack is way cooler. And he's got the cool pinstripe suit, which is just better than the the burlap sack that Oogie Boogie wears.
Right? I have seen these characters. I might have seen the film. I don't know. There's so many things I haven't seen. Anyway, I'm sorry, go on.
I mean, it took me a long time to see this movie. Jack wakes up in the graveyard and realizes that his plan has ruined Christmas. He got bumped on the head and he realized, I effed up. This was not a good plan. But he has new plans for Halloween and what he could do instead. And so Jack tears off the Santa suit he's been wearing for like half the movie and declares that he is in fact the Pumpkin King. And he goes into town and releases Santa. And there's like a big like montage / fight scene with Jack fighting Oogie Boogie, where Oogie Boogie is like about to kill Santa, and Sally had gone to try to save him because she thought Jack was dead, so she went to go do it herself. Really, we stand Sally in this account, like she's doing her best. And
she's just out there trying.
Yeah. And Jack, I think the way they win is that because he's like this big burlap sack stitched together, is that they're able to like pull his stitches out, and then it's discovered that Oogie Boogie is just like 3 kobolds in a trench coat kind of situation where it's like a bunch of like little bugs that are like running his body. And so yeah, really gross. Jack apologizes and then gets Santa to Christmas Town, and then Santa fixes Christmas and like redistributes like better presents. And Jack talks to Sally about her attempt to save Santa, and Sally's got like this cute scene where she's like, well, it's what you would have done, and then he realizes that she loves him, and they have this like cute adorable moment together. And then at the end, after Shock, Lock, and Barrel are like scolded, and the mayor fined Jack. Jack's reinstated as the Pumpkin King, and Santa, as like a olive branch, gives all of the people of Halloween Town Christmas presents, and it's basically the presents that they made, because he probably was like, what do I do with these? But like Christmas Town or Halloween Town's like, heck yeah, look at that, we've got presents. And so the residents of both towns are actually like friends toward the end of it, and it all wraps up all happy.
Are there like other little interactions from different characters in each town? Like,
yeah,
are there any other little side characters we see a few times?
Yeah, I admittedly like don't remember a lot of the like background characters,
That's
but
okay.
they're it's more like they talk about each other, and then they like send gifts over to each other, so they're kind of like pen pals now. So they get like gifts and things, and there's the Happy Halloween and Merry Christmas song that like reconciles the town, because at the beginning Halloween Town had kind of terrorized them, and then at the end they're like, all right, we can be friends.
Cute.
And then I think the last song ends with Jack and Sally's like closing emotional song, and then as they kiss, Zero like flies off into the distance with his nose blinking like he's still Rudolph, because he's a good boy.
Aww. Dogs are always good boys.
Dogs are always good boys. That is my recap of Nightmare Before Christmas.
That was lovely. Great job.
It's a fun movie, and the music is great. Musicals are great.
I didn't realize it was a musical. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's a good musical.
I mean, I guess, as I said, I've not really seen it that I can remember, so.
I would watch it again. It's a fun one. My husband liked this one too, and he was very offended that I had never seen it.
Oh. Well, I guess probably we should watch it around Halloween then.
I think that's good. All right. Would you like my quote again?
Oh, sure. I mean, I think I know it, but go right ahead.
Each year, the great pumpkin rises out of the pumpkin patch that he thinks is the most sincere. He's got to pick this one. He's got to. I don't see how a pumpkin patch can be more sincere than this one.
That is certainly the Charlie Brown Halloween special, The Great Pumpkin.
It is. The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
So cute. Mm-hmm. Now, I assume, since you brought this, that you, well, I guess I shouldn't assume, but do you like the Charlie Brown holiday shorts? Even though you don't like the animated Christmas shorts?
Yeah, I do. They're fun.
Okay.
And Charlie Brown isn't stop motion.
It's true, but it's kind of really sketchy animation.
It is really sketchy animation. It's something about the uncanny valley of those specific two movies.
Okay.
But I do love me a good Charlie Brown, and I often do the wah, 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 wah conversations that like the parents are having at children.
I think I accidentally do that sometimes too when I'm imitating
it's just ingrained
someone.
into our soul.
Yeah. Good movies. Well, maybe we'll bring those for something else in the future.
Yeah. So
Cool.
I think the next thing to do is ask the generator what our next word is.
New word.
New word.
Again, we're not a cult today. And our next word is...
The next word is fashion.
Oh, fashion.
Walk, walk, fashion, baby.
I could have brought that as a quote.
We still could.
I
forget.
guess I could bring that as a quote. Secrets, we already knew this word, and I already have a quote picked out.
Secret. We got a secret.
This is a very song-filled episode.
It's a musically pumpkin episode, Charlie Brown. All right.
We should end now before we completely fall off the rails.
Like we haven't already. Thanks for listening to the podcast. We appreciate those who stick around with us. And if we gave you a sensible chuckle, please share with a friend. Because if you share with a friend, then we get more listeners. And that's wonderful. And that's how podcasts grow.
But don't get it twisted. Not like a pyramid scheme.
That's true. We're not a pyramid scheme. We're not factually accurate, so don't use us as the
As the
basis of your
go-to
literature
reference.
paper.
Use this as the Wikipedia article as you're jumping out off point.
Yeah, there you go.
That sounded interesting. I'm going to go get the primary source and watch it myself.
Right. And then go, I don't know what those two were talking about. That wasn't in the movie at all. And then be like, you were right. It's just a fever dream I had that one time, and I
Right?
combined it with this movie.
So, yeah, any and all inaccuracies, kindly point them out to us, please.
We would love that.
Kindly.
Actually. Yes,
Must be
as long as
polite, or your comment will be deleted.
it's done with love or jest, because I always appreciate being gently made fun of. And with
Not
that,
bullied.
Not
Anyway, we're not bullied. No one comments at us. We're fine.
We have a couple comments. Anyway, I've been Stephanie.
And
always.
I've been Allison forever.
Forever. And we're still not a pyramid scheme. Bye.
Bye.